Hey BoLS fans, AdamHarry here. We are doing a game of Imperial Assault. We're actually playing the campaign. Mike is going to be the dark side Imperial player, and I will be the rebels here. So we're starting out with the basic stuff. So my rebel party will be the Wookiee Gar Khan. I will have the hardened veteran Fen Cygnus here as well. I've got Dyla Pasil, the Haunted Exile. Maybe she's a Jedi, maybe she's not. And then Gideon Argus, the Valiant Commander. We'll go through their abilities when they come up, but that's my 4 starting Rebel guys. And Mike, if you want to go through the Empire and their and the mission real fast too.
So for the Empire, their goal here is to either prevent the heroes from destroying all of these consoles, indicated by these little console icons here, or to wound them all. And in this game, if you're not familiar with Imperial Assault, you have a stat card that has your health value. For Gar Khan, it's 14. When he loses 14 health, he flips over his card and now he is wounded. But you have to do another 14 health before you can actually make him leave the field of battle. And for campaign purposes, they don't actually die, they're just forced to withdraw. And in this scenario, I can either win by delaying them till the end of turn 6 without them killing all of the consoles, or I can wound every single one of them. Obviously, the much harder of the 2 options.
Yeah. Cool. So with that said, we'll go ahead and get started.
Alright, the Rebels have first turn. Obviously, I'm going to voice over this whole thing just so you don't have to watch us do everything at normal speed, so sped up, of course. I'm kind of debating back and forth with the Rebels, so I'm going to activate the Wookiee Gar Khan, and he is going to charge one of the Stormtroopers right up in there. Actually, charge the probe droid, because those things will get their probe on, if you know what I mean, and really hurt you bad. So he swings with the charge. He actually ends up doing 4 damage at the first swing. And no surges, so his special ability with the surge is that he has a cleave. It's from the weapon. Cleave 1 damage, so he can hit one adjacent thing next to him for 1 extra point of damage, and it kind of bypasses any defenses or anything like that. So he's going to do that, and then his next attack will actually swing and kill the droid, and that's what that extra surge damage will be. Moving on, the Stormtroopers are activated. The first one's going to shoot Gar and do 1 damage after a roll a 3 to block, which is kind of ridiculous. I'm kind of commenting on how that happens to me, and then more so when I do it to him. But anyway, Gar had some amazing rolls this time. I roll on the token pile, get sick of that, so I move it. I roll 2 block on that one, so Gar takes another point of damage out of that 14 hit points, so he's down to 12. I roll another 3 block, so 0 damage from the 3rd Stormtrooper. Kind of ridiculous, I know. So amazing Wookiee scare tactics worked again. Next up, I'm going to activate Finn, and we kind of talk a little bit about how the move sequence works with the shooting and stuff like that. You can actually, when you use a move action, it gives you movement points. You don't have to spend all those points immediately. You can spend 1 or 2, do an attack, and then follow up with another 2 movement or other. So that's what we're kind of going back and forth. That's why we're kind of repositioning some of the model here in the end. But Finn shoots. He uses his ability, which is Havoc Shot, which is causes his weapon to do a blast damage. So he does 2 damage to his target after all the dice roll, and then 1 blast damage to anything adjacent, which is why the console took damage. And then he has an additional move, and he moves back when that activates his Lone Wolf ability, which helps him, and he removes his stress. The Imperial Officer activates just now. He moves up and he decides to shoot Gar Khan, who used all of his awesome defense rolls earlier, unfortunately for him, and so he takes a full 4 damage on Gar Khan. So I believe he's now up to -6 health. So some pain going the Wookiee way, but you know what they say, let the Wookiee win. So moving on from there, Gideon's going to activate, and then I get really mixed up. And again, we're still learning, but we kind of figure out, oh, I don't have to move him to activate these things. And again, working out the turn sequence. It's a friendly game. We're learning, so we hit the reset button a little bit there. But what ends up happening, Gideon orders Dyla to move with his command activation. She moves up. She just gets a move or an attack. There's no special abilities there, so just move or attack. Gideon then rests and removes the stress, so he's back to 0 strain. Excuse me. Dyla goes there and she does her attack, going back and forth. She decides to go on the console she does her attack, destroying the console with the damage, and then her additional attack, she can do 2 actions, either a move or an attack or whatever. She opts for 2 attacks this turn, and she swings on the last stormtrooper, the wounded stormtrooper, and takes him out. So he is dead, and then we reset and up the turn counter, and then I rearrange the cards, and that's the end of turn 1. On turn 2, Dyla goes. She moves up 2 and does a swing on the Imperial officer. Ends up, after all the dice are rolled, she's going to roll 3 damage and drop the officer like a sack of potatoes, so he's done. She has 1 more move remaining, 2 more move remaining. She just moves up to the door and stops her turn there. The trooper will go. Again, how activation works, because he has only 1 unit to activate, that's all he gets to activate until more show up. So I now have free reign of the turn for turn 2, so all of the rebels get to go. The trooper does shoot, and he ends up doing 3 damage to Gar Khan, the Wookiee, and Gar is now sitting at a 9 damage out of his 14 before he flips. So he's taking some punishment. Gideon decides to move up, move him up 2, and he will shoot at the trooper. We're kind of talking about a little bit about the rules for the door and stuff as well at this point. So he's going to roll damage on the trooper here. After all the dice are done with surges and me re-rolling on those stupid tokens, I keep doing that on accident. He blocks 1 surge. I end up doing 2 damage, and that's just enough to wound the trooper, not take him out. And I was like, hey, I should move these tokens. So move those tokens finally. Gideon moves up 2 more and ends his turn. Finn now activates as the last one to go. Finn's just going to turn and shoot the trooper here. Just drops him like a sack of potatoes again. 3 damage total, killing him. He moves his 4 up to that point and stops just shy of the door. Gar Khan will now activate and move to the door. And when I open the door, it actually triggers reinforcement deployment. So if you remember what I said earlier about how the turn works, I now have no more movement, and it's still turn 2, and he gets to deploy a reinforcements, which are a trooper's officer and an E-Web engineer gun. Well, I've learned my lesson about doors. He now, again, bottom of the turn basically, but he's got 3 activations to go. He's going to unload with the E-Web engineer right into Gar Khan. I am sorry, my Wookiee friend. He got dropped. Not dropped, but he takes a lot of damage here. He will flip eventually. But after it's all said and done, he ends up flipping the Wookiee. He was just shy of flipping him on the first attack. Second attack goes. I rolled 6 defense dice out of all those shots. So the fact that he only flipped the Wookiee was amazing, considering he was sitting on 9 damage before the E-Web opened up. It did way more than 5 damage in those 2 volleys. He flipped him over that way. So, Wookiee took it to the chin and tanked like a boss. At this point, it's all academic. The Imperial player is going to wrap up the turn here. Mike's moving the guys forward. No big shocker there. He's going to double move most of his guys, which he remembers he can do here in a second. But he's just going to move the Stormtroopers into position for next turn, and then also the Imperial officer. At this point, he remembers, oh yeah, I can double move. So that's where those guys end up where they are. And then he debates back and forth. And yes, he decides to shut the door right in my face. So, shuts the door, we reset everything, turn the cards back over, flip counters, add threat, did that already, all that fun stuff goes. And so now it is the Rebel start of the turn. First thing we do, activate Gar Khan the Wookiee, and he's going to tear into the door. So, the door does have 1 defense dice. After all the die are rolled, Gar Khan, stationary target, 1 point of damage. Good job. He's going to swing again. This time I remember, hey, he's focused, so I'm going to use that focus attack. You're supposed to use it on the first attack, but whatever, it happens, so it's the same target. So roll the dice. I end up doing 4 whole damage to the door on top of that. So the door is now at 3 hit points left out of 8 total. And then the, rolling that. Officer goes. He's going to move up, double move into that corner there with the E-Web engineer hanging out. Waiting for us to open the door. He basically was trying to burn a turn, because now I activate Dyla, who's going to go again, the pseudo Jedi, and she's going to attack the door. And the door, stationary target again, blocks 3 damage. She hits it again. This time does enough damage to drop the door. So it has now taken 2 of my players' turns, 2 of the Rebel guys' turns to actually get through the door, which I was afraid was going to happen. My friends call this game Star Wars Imperial Assault, Revenge of the Door. So he activates the Stormtroopers. Or excuse me, he activates the E-Web engineer now, who fires again into Gar Khan the Wookiee. Both shots are going to do a total of 2 shots, 4 damage each. That's what I'm trying to say. He does a total of 8 damage to the Wookiee. So that stings quite a bit. Next up is going to be Gideon, and Gideon is going to move. He's going to move on up to block line of sight to Garcon, who's taking a pounding. He's then going to use his command to move Finn, his special ability to move Finn, activate Finn to move. So Finn's going to move up, and now the troopers go. The troopers are going to go around the corner here, get into a nice formation for me, but Mike doesn't realize that yet. He's going to move into the corner, blocking the E-Web engineer, takes a shot at Finn, and winds up doing 2 damage to Finn. The next trooper is going to activate and move, who then moves up. Finn takes damage. Nope, I blocked it. Haha, take that, me. So Finn takes 2 damage from that shot. The next trooper moves up and positions himself right there. Also shooting at Finn, and I block 3, so Finn takes 0 damage off that shot. And the last trooper moves up right in front of Finn, who also shoots at him and does 3 damage point blank, shockingly enough. So Finn has taken a total of 5 damage. Now, it is now Finn's glorious turn, and everybody's in blast formation. So if you play D&D, you might recognize this as fireball formation. So it is time to unload the Havoc shots. So the first shot, he's going to target the closest trooper to the E-Web directly in front, kills a trooper for the damage, and then blast is going to do a whole bunch of damage to there's 1 damage to the E-Web, 1 damage to the console, and then a damage each to the 2 close troopers there. He's going to Havoc shot again on the front corner of the E-Web engineer, doing 3 damage to the E-Web, and then an additional blast damage to everything adjacent to that square. So it's going to be the Imperial officer again. It's going to be the other trooper in front to the caddy corner there, and then also the console. The console is now taking 2 points of damage, so not a terrible turn for Finn. It is now turn 4, and the Imperial reinforcements have arrived. So after a little bit of deliberation, Mike opts to go for more stormtroopers. We were talking about putting a droid in there if it was worth it, but it would only be 3 points out of his 6th threat. So he opts for the stormtroopers because they make great speed bumps. So here come the stormtroopers, dropping those down. We dial back the threat, reset everything. He gets the extra guys. So top of the turn, Finn had such a good go. At the bottom of the turn, I decided to activate him first, and he's going to activate and Havoc shot yet again. The E-Web guy here, shooting that super guy, takes him out with his die roll, and then the blast damage again hits everyone. The Imperial officer now has 2 more damage on him, and splash damage around. I take out those guys. So the last guy going back and forth. I decided to play it safe and go for the mission, and Finn's last action will be to shoot the console, which only has 1 hit point left. He's got the range attack, so I figure it's going to save me the having to move a guy in close to do it. So take advantage of Finn's range and shoot that. And I do the damage. We remember, oh yeah, it doesn't even get a defense die, so it just takes that out. And then we kind of talk a little bit back and forth about how the blast works, just to make sure we were doing that right as far as ignoring the innate block that it had. So, and we were right, the block, we're good to go there. So moving on from there, the stormtrooper is going to activate, and he is going to shoot at Finn. So he's got just point blank right into Finn's face, and I roll and get a 3 block. So Finn ends up taking 1 more damage. So he's wounded, but it was definitely his time. You could say it was Finn's adventure time. Gideon's going to activate, and I decide to move up 2 so that I'll still be in range of Dyla, who then I use his command ability to move her up. So she moves up to that corner. I remember she has reach later on, and it doesn't really matter, but it comes into play a little bit. So I move him up, and then I move Dyla, and then move Dyla, and then move Gideon his final 2 squares to block line of sight to the stormtroopers, which I know are going to come around the corner and try to shoot more guys. So Gideon's kind of playing pseudo line of sight blocking tank. The stormtrooper moves up and shoots around the corner, which I didn't know you could do, but you can do. You can actually attack around corners when you're right next to them. So it's like you're taking cover or something. He shoots, does 2 damage to Dyla. The next trooper moves up. He also shoots her and does 4 damage because I forget that I can take a strain token to re-roll the die, which I remember later on. And then the final stormtrooper moves up, shoots her again, and she takes 2 more damage. She has taken a total of 8 damage from those stormtroopers, so she is plenty angry when she activates next. She attacks the stormtrooper there and ends up doing 3 damage and just drops him, the guy out in the open there, not the guy around the corner. Then the next guy, that's when I remember she has reach. and she swings and hits that guy across from her, and she does 1 damage and 1 stun. And I also use her ability, which is to take a strain token and ignore the defense die. So she's just doing straight damage. So she kind of mopped up a little bit there. The officer is now going to go. He's going to attack Dyla, and I will use her ability, which I now remember that I can do. I don't like the blank result, obviously, so I take a strain, reroll, get the X-Men die, which I like to call, and it's a super dodge, so she takes no damage at all from the attack. So completely misses. So it's kind of an all or nothing die. Garcon is going to go next. Rests, then moves up 3, and I opt not to take the additional moves from stress moves. So don't do that, and that will end the turn. Turn 5 starts off here, and we are getting down to the wire. Again, this is a 6-turn mission, so I have to destroy all the consoles by the end of 6 or I lose. Gar is going to start off with a charge to a Stormtrooper. So he's going to charge the wounded Stormtrooper down by that console anytime now, which we're kind of debating what to do. So figured out that it's 3 move, gets there. He's going to swing at the trooper, and he's going to completely smash him because now I get the extra die, a red and a yellow, and it's 5 damage, 2 block. He only has 3 hit points. He is done. His follow-up attack will be on the console. Thinking back, I'm like, man, after watching this, I was like, man, good thing I didn't whiff on this console, otherwise it would have been even worse off shape. But Garcon goes in there, Wookiee tearing it up, just like Wookiees tend to do. So at this point, too, the troopers are going to move. The first trooper moves up. After clearing his stun, just kind of moves back. The next one's going to go. He's going to take a pop shot here at the Jedi. It does 1 point of damage after all the dice are rolled. The next one will go as well and will shoot at Dala and end up doing 2 more damage. She's taken 3 damage total, and she has 3 damage left before she flips. So they're just moving around. Gideon's going to go. Gideon's going to start off ordering Finn to move up. And then he's going to move up as well and take a shot at the Imperial officer. So if you look to the right there, the Imperial officer actually has 2 damage, and I'm doing this now because we watched the footage. Gideon shoots and actually kills the officer with that because he rolls a white die for defense, not black. So I actually stun the officer, and we add 2 more damage. That means the officer's taken 4 damage, which means he should have died, but we forgot. So we're just going to chalk this up to some Imperial ingenuity of being super awesome or cheaty, whatever you want to call it, and the officer's still alive. Now, this is important because the officer is going to go now, and he's going to shoot Dyla in the back, naturally, and do 3 damage, which, of course, is going to flip her right on the dot. So she's now flipped over, and she loses movement speed, which will be important later. After that, Finn is going to go, and I activate Finn here coming up, and I'm like, oh great, they're in fireball formation from D&D. This is perfect. Oh wait, I only have 1 strain left to take, so I need to figure out how to rest Finn up here. So I shoot, and he actually blocks the damage. Because he blocked all the damage, I cannot get the blast off. Therefore, no awesome blast damage. Adventure time is over for Finn. Dyla moves up. She's just going to move up and get into position. She's moving a little slower now because the officer flipped her. She's going to move up and take a pop shot at one of the troopers here, and she's going to end up doing 2 damage to that trooper, and that will bring up the end of the turn. Now at this point, I'm looking at the board, I'm thinking turn 6, I got a couple of ways to win this game, all of which we'll get to when I get to them, but that's coming up here after all the damage is rolled. It is a pivotal turn 6. We've reset everything. The Imperial reinforcements show up. This time it's just a lone Imperial officer. There are a couple of ways, and we were talking it out, how I could try to win the game. I've got all 4 players to go, and it is turn 6, and I'm trying to figure out how do I get them in there. That officer's not supposed to be there, but we don't catch that until this turn. At this point, it's too late, and we're just playing it straight in. So that said, even though we screwed this up, the Rebels are looking pretty good to see if they can actually pull it off to get the win. So there's a couple of things that happen here. So first thing I do, I activate Dahlia, and I should have activated Finn and Havoc shot, but this was my fault. I activate her. She swings first. She gets completely blocked. The next swing, she actually kills the trooper that I needed to shoot. So that was my fault. Tactically, I screwed that up, but that's okay. Killing troopers is usually not a bad thing. I needed that guy to be alive for Finn to get the Havoc shot blast onto the console, but it's okay, it works out. The dead officer moves up at the middle and then blocks everything else for the Imperial turn. So that's not looking good. It's just more stuff in the way for me to kind of chew through. And I'm thinking in my head, how do I do this? How do I do this? I go back and forth between activating Gideon or activating the Wookiee. I opt to activate Garkon, who's going to swing at the undamaged trooper, thinking, hey, the officer only has 1 hit point left. He'll cleave, get a cleave off, and kill the officer. Not a big deal. But what ends up happening, dice ends up happening. So the die roll, and he blocks the surge, which is the cleave. So I end up doing a couple of damage to the stormtrooper. I swing again. He blocks my cleave again, but I kill the trooper. So didn't work out quite the way I envisioned it. I was thinking the Wookiee would kill both of them. He activates then the stormtroopers, who move up and shoot Dahlia, the Jedi, again for 2 more damage, just to put damage on her, try to slow her down as much as possible. So again, at that point is when we caught the officer damage, and we were like, whoa, we screwed that up. We're just going to play like we didn't and keep going. Moving on from there, Gideon actually activates. He moves up, and I figure, what am I going to do? I'll take a pop shot at the stormtrooper, and he does so. So he moves and shoots, and to that square there. I was thinking, oh, if I can clear the way for Finn, maybe Finn can get in there and actually do it. And I end up only doing 1 stinking damage to the trooper, so the trooper is still alive. He only had 2 hit points left. Gideon kind of whiffed there. So at this point, it's looking pretty dour for the rebels. So I've only got Finn left to activate, and he's got his officer. The officer just decides to take a shot at the Wookiee and ends up doing 0 damage to the Wookiee. So at this point, I'm kicking myself, thinking, man, I could have sent the Wookiee around the corner last turn. I could have had saved Finn and power moved him through, but I could, just the officer being in the way, just kicking myself. But Finn decides to say, screw it, Havoc shot, kills the officer with the Havoc shot, hits everybody as punishment, and that's the end of the game. So thanks for watching. Another Bulls Bat Rep signing off. Have a good one.